milestones, earning them various stock grants and the opportunity to earn back their paid company dollar. Today from Colorado, we have Aaron Leibovic. From Indiana, we have Jim Pruitt. From Virginia, we have Daniel Harnsberger. From California, we have Charlie Dowd. And from Texas, our amazing moderator is Crystal DeBacher. Crystal, take it away.
Hey, thank you so much, Brian. I'm really, really excited to be here. I am from North Texas, and I've been an agent for 5 years. This is my first ICON, so I'm really excited to hear from all these guys. They are very impressive. They've done impressive business for years, it sounds like. So I will get started here. Some of the things that we wanted to talk about is when it comes to this level of production and being consistent, I think a very common question is about schedule and routine. So I'll kick it off there. What is it that you are doing, Charlie, to have a consistent schedule and routine that allows you to produce at this level?
Awesome. Can you guys hear me clear?
Yeah.
I always pre-plan my day. I was very religious on that recently. I would say this year recently. So it's been a while. But the point is what I do is a day before, I do always have to plan my day, schedule each hour accordingly what I'm doing, because if not, I just wake up and not really have, I have a lot of stuff to do, but don't know when to do, what to start with, etc. So I'll even block out my office time. I'll block out my gym time, my haircuts. So I just really time manage everything. Even to a point where if I know I have to go pick up keys somewhere, I'll put that in the calendar as a time slot as well. And I kind of coordinate my day a day before. And of course I leave, it's not all jam packed and full. So I do leave spots just in case, but that's kind of how I time manage. And basically
that's where if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done.
Yep, exactly. So just really religious on the calendar. All my admins have the calendar. So they know when I shower, they know when I get a haircut, all that good stuff.
That's perfect. That allows you to definitely capitalize on your day and make sure that all hours are used productively. I think that I do the same. Everything is on my calendar, and that just allowed me to be more efficient with my time and see where I was not being efficient and where I had opportunity. Writing it all out, I don't literally write it out. I put it on my Google Calendar, but seeing it all in place allowed me to fine tune the process, just like I do transactions. So I'm very similar in that aspect. Daniel, is there anything that you would add to how you approach your schedule routine?
Hey, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So to piggyback off that, your day begins the night before. I think that's the important phrase to remember. Okay. Is make sure you lay it out, because like the gentleman just said, a lot of agents, I think they get to their desk, they open up their email, and they kind of let their email and their day run them from there. But if you know what to do ahead of time, that's going to serve you well. And then on top of that, I would say also, is everyone familiar with the concept of time stacking?
Like habit stacking?
So, yes, somewhat. So you do like activities all together. So something you wouldn't want to do, you wouldn't want to say, prospect for 30 minutes or an hour, then go to some admin, then go back to something else, keep jumping back and forth into things. I prospect for 3 to 4 hours. Then from there, I have my admin. And then from there, I have my appointment times where I allot time for appointments. If I don't have appointments that day, I can go back to prospecting. That served me well. So you're not jumping all over the place.
Yeah, you're doing like with like. And that's, again, another way to be very efficient. I love that. That's a really good point. And I'm very similar, specifically when it comes to my media days. If I'm going to be dolled up, I'm going to be capitalizing on that opportunity and make sure that I schedule more meetings or more media that day as well, being very efficient with my time. That's a great point. Yes. Jim, hop into you. What is it that you do to be great with your schedule and routine to be as productive as you are?
Well, I think that time is the only commodity we can't make more of. So we have to be very conscious of the time that we spend. There's a book called 168 hours. That's how many hours there are in a week. And it talks about balance between your work life and your home life. One of the decisions I made a long time ago was, and I forget who it was, a seminar I was at, but they said, if you have open 24 hours on your social media page, change it now. Put hours in there. If you have open 24 hours, you're giving people permission to contact you at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, at 6 o'clock in the morning. And so I've worked long and hard for a long time to make sure that I have my time, my family time, and so forth, and then I have work time. So my day usually starts 9-ish, quit 5 or 6. So I have a lot of family time, but I'm a slave to my calendar. Both my admins have access to my calendar. I'm usually booked out 2 to 3 days in advance. And when I review my calendar that night before I go to bed, so you can kind of process it a little bit. You get up the next morning, look at your calendar again, review your day, and you know exactly where you're going to be throughout the hours of the day. So I'm predominantly a listing agent. That's what I work hard on. I've set that. I've been in a business for 33 years, so I set that in the very beginning that if you get the listings, you'll get the buyers. So most of my time spent trying to work toward getting listings, but I think just be a slave to your calendar, and you have to work during work hours and then be off during your family time.
Well said. I love that you led with boundaries. You know, we're talking about being high production agents, and it's hard when you're in that growth cycle to set those boundaries and to honor them. But, you know, I did the same thing to your point of having off hours. I put my phone on an automatic do not disturb from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. And I did not have any negative effects on my business. That's what I was always worried about. And to be honest, people have no problem when you are upfront with your boundaries. Like you said, put that on your Google page. When you're upfront and honest, you just set the expectation, and people typically, the ones that you want to work with, most likely are going to honor that and have no problem with the fact that you have decent boundaries. I love that. Thank you for adding that.
Yep, exactly.
It seems like the common theme is use your calendar, and as Daniel said, the day begins the night before. Make sure that you know what you're going to be doing the next day. You're confident in it, and you've thought ahead. You know, if you're waiting till day of to look at your calendar and realize you've got an overlap or you've got an opportunity, you're probably behind the ball. Aaron, anything you want to add to how you approach your routine?
Yeah. So if there's anybody in the room that's just getting their business started, or they're just kind of feeling, maybe they've been in it for a while, but are just kind of feel like they're flailing throughout the day and not so sure what to do, I would highly recommend considering joining a well-run, highly structured, high accountability team, because that's really where I learned the habits for success. Props to Kevin Kaufman and Fred Weaver, who run the Group 4610 team. They taught me early on script practice in the morning at 8:30, lead gen time in the morning, afternoon appointments. And while I've been an independent agent or have been running my own team for years, I have still kept that concept of keep the morning available for working on your business and keep the afternoon available for working in your business. So when you have the energy and the brain power to be doing lead follow-up, lead generation, working on your business, that's the morning time. I only schedule appointments and I only try to take classes in the afternoon after I've done the activities that actually produce results.
What an actionable piece of advice. So on your business in the morning and in your business in the afternoon. I love that. And you're exactly right. Building the habits with a team, someone that has already built success off of that schedule and those habits. As you said, habits to success, such good advice. A lot of people that get in this business, they wake up and they don't know what they're doing every day and they don't know where to start. So they pay for major coaching and then they don't have the accountability necessary to create these sometimes they're hard daily habits. I mean, you have your phone and email going off, demanding your attention. And if you haven't built out the habits and you don't know how to break down your day, it's really hard to get control of your schedule. I love how actionable that was. Okay, so I feel like it's very consistent here that we need to know what you're doing each day, have it on the calendar, and review that calendar the day before to see areas of opportunity. I love what Aaron just said as far as a general place to start in creating that routine and that schedule is to work on your business in the morning and in your business in the afternoon. Speaking of how we would work on our business, I would love to hear how each of you would describe your business approach. You know, some people are, they're Zillow lead experts. Some people capitalize on their local sphere. Some people get involved in a specific niche. We'll go ahead and kind of do the reverse here. Start with you, Erin, if you don't mind. What is it that you would say, how would you describe your business approach or the niche that you may be in?
Well, it took a while to earn this, and I think a lot of agents might have a goal of achieving this level. So my where I'm at is just past clients, referrals, and people who find me online. I'm not door knocking. I'm not cold calling. I'm rarely holding open houses, but those are the things that I did when I began in the business. So I kind of had to earn the right to be in this place that I'm at now. It started with lead gen and internet leads. I will truly say and remember this always and forever, the fortune is in the follow-up. Don't expect people to call you back as soon as you reach out to them the first time. It is a long-term marathon game of following up with people so that they think of you when they think of buying or selling a home. And then I sold a whole lot of real estate, and then I've been following up with them and adding value to their lives. And so that's why now my business is based on only sphere, referral, past clients, and people who find me online. One more quick tidbit is if you haven't done this already, build out a Zillow profile, build out a realtor.com profile. I am shocked at how many people call me to say, hey, Erin, we're looking at hiring a real estate agent. You've got great reviews and a great profile. Can we talk to you about buying or selling a home? That's just the best. So if you haven't done it already, create those profiles with great photos and great bios.
Great advice. I was going to ask you where your internet leads come from, but there you go. So just making sure that your bios are filled out, putting in your workflows to make sure that you ask for those reviews at certain step points. That makes sense for your business. So great advice. All right, Jim, what about you? What kind of niche or where do you feel like most of your business is coming from?
Well, I started out many years ago, like I said, trying to just be a listing agent. We're in a small town of about 13,000 people. We're right on the Ohio River between Louisville, Kentucky and Cincinnati, Ohio. And we have the largest contiguous area in the United States on the National Register of Historic Places. So we have 133 contiguous blocks that are on the National Register. And the building I'm sitting in right now was built in the 1840s. A building next door built in the 1830s. My house was built in the 1830s. So we kind of have a niche market with this historic. But I really think that a lot like Erin said, I started out years ago. Of course, you got to have enough buyers to get past clients. So you have to start out with buyers. And then once you work that, I'm known as a listing agent. I advertise as a listing agent. And so lots of listings is the way we do it. But we do a lot of personal marketing on social media. I've hired a guy out of Louisiana. It's called The Jungle, Brandon Birch. We have a meeting every Tuesday. We advertise our listings. We do targeting and retargeting on our listings on social media. And then we take some of our references that people give us online, 5-star reviews and so forth. And we do carousels on those. For the first 6 months of this year, we had 306,645 impressions on Facebook and Instagram combined. And that was for maybe $1,200-$1,300. So I think if you can get somebody to help you, I don't know how it works, don't know how to do it. I pay him a fee every month, but that get that advertising out there repeatedly. A couple of things that I'll kind of piggyback on what Erin said there was follow up. 1 or 2 calls are not going to make it. I don't know if anybody is following Coach Michael Burt, B-U-R-T, on social media, but he has what he calls his law of diffusion, that only 2.5% of the people you contact are going to get back with you or take action after one contact. 13.5% of the people will do it from 1 to 3 times or 1 to 3 contacts. 34% of the people from 3 to 7 contacts. And then 7 to 15 contacts, another 34%. And there's some people that will never, another 16% that will never respond, or will never do anything. So that law of diffusion is very important. John Chiplak, that's one of his big things he teaches is follow up, follow up, follow up. Sometimes 20, 30 phone calls to somebody before you get to business. And then I'll echo again, Aaron, what Aaron said there. Man, I see so many new agents that have not filled out any information on Realtor.com and Zillow and Homes and all of these home search sites. I would go out to these home search sites. It's free. Put your information in there. If I'm looking for a referral agent somewhere to send a referral to, that's one of the things I do is I go check out and see if they've filled out the free things online. So I would highly encourage that. So that's just little tips.
Perfect. Yeah, very actionable. Again, I love it. So you're working with a company now that helps you with ads, and you're not going to waste that investment by not following up. I mean, you're building your database. Now you've got something to do when you're doing your lead gen. And like I said, it's already an investment. So Daniel, what about you? How would you describe your business approach?
Yeah, I mean, it's focus on prospecting. About half my business comes from repeat clients and through people in my center of influence and referrals from that. I do call expireds. That makes up about 15 to 20% of my business. I do a lot of circle prospecting around the listings I sell. I've closed 56 this year. Over 80% of that is listings versus buyers. So, we're fortunate to have a lot of calls to make in that regard. Also, I think, in addition to having a strong online platform, there's some good online services that are pay at closing that are just, cost a little more than it would if you got a referral from an agent. So if you're producing, that'll boost you in the algorithm and you can utilize those as well. That makes about a fourth of my business.
Wow, very, very interesting. I love that. And, those are classic things that we know we should be doing. And to your point, there are expireds to call on these days for sure. All right. What about you, Charlie? What are you adding? Charlie, anything you want to add on your business development?
All right. Hi, talking to me, right? Hello. I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, now I can hear you. Yes, perfect. Okay, yes. For my business development, not much. When it comes down to working on my business, I kind of do like what they do. In the morning, I kind of work on afternoon work in my business. I'm really big on like adding tech and resources. So I'm always like researching what resources, what tools we can utilize as a team. I do also have a team as well. And also with my admins, one thing that I really highly suggest, if you do have admins, what I like to do is just sit with them sometimes for 2-3 hours on a Zoom or Google Meet and basically see what's going on. Maybe do some training, some information, etc. And also build with them because they're our foundation for our business, right? So that's just kind of what I do when it comes down to working on my business and developing it.
Perfect. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit I don't do the typical lead gen either. I just, to me, my nightmare was cold calling people that didn't want me to call them. And so I just kind of did a slow build myself, and I'm very hyper local. I mean, I am out in my community. So that's my lead gen. I'm going to events. I'm being seen everywhere I can. I mean, I changed the gas station that I go to get my morning iced tea every day because that's where the landowners were sitting and having coffee.
Yep.
I'm on every board I can in town. I'm just extremely hyper local, and my goal is just very attraction based. It's definitely a slow build. There's no question. And there are days where it's like, who am I going to call today? And so as long as I'm very intentional that I do approach my schedule, putting in lead gen, it's gone well. But I want to pop over here. I saw in the comments, Roberto asked how we're implementing AI. So I will just kind of leave this open to the group. If anyone wants to start here, any of you guys, are you implementing AI into your business routines? anyone wants to chime in. If not,
I'll pop in here. It's Jim Pruitt. Hey, so I'm one of the older ones in the group here. I didn't touch a computer till I was 27 years old, but I'm very technology driven. So now kids grow up with them in their hands, But a couple of things that I think is important. A lot of people do just listed or just sold on their social media post. And I think that people want to hear stories, and I think they connect with you if you tell a story. So we started that with our just solds, and now we're just starting that with our just listed properties. So I'll give you an example. We sold a property yesterday. Husband and wife owned it for, 30, 40, 50 years. They both passed away. 4 siblings inherited the property. None of them had interest in it. So we listed it, sold the property. I went to ChatGPT this morning. I typed in, hey, there was mom and dad owned the building for decades. 4 siblings inherited it. None of them wanted it. Write me a Facebook post for telling me a story. Make sure you say something about my proven success plan, that's what got it sold, and then ask other people for listings. Hit the button. It spits out a nice little thing, and it said, would you like it shorter, longer? I said, go a little more into the family, make it a little longer. Spits it out. Copy and paste it, send it to my transaction coordinator. She sends the picture to our marketing guy with the story, and it goes on there. So people want to hear stories. People connect with stories. So I think that if you can stop, like, look at me, I just sold a house. If you can say, I helped somebody sell their property, and here's why they had to sell. And I think that connects emotionally. And ChatGPT or any AI does a really good job at helping us do that. Another example, listed a commercial property. It was 3 units. There's a little area right outside of my main market area. So I wanted to kind of double check it. So I just put in, hey, I want to use the ERB formula, income divided by rate equals value. For this property address, tell me what the cap rate should be. Tell me what the taxes are, because it wasn't in my county. Spit out a bunch of data, and it said, would you like a cash over cash? Yes, please do that. Spits it out. And so there's different ways to use it other than just playing with it. So, and I probably just tipped the end of the iceberg with it.
I think that those are very actionable, though. I think that that's what's helpful. I mean, we hear AI all the time, and there's lists, and I go to conferences and I'll get a 8-page PDF with all of these different tools and systems and subscriptions and ideas to implement. But I think that the first way to implement personally is, what are we already doing that we can improve upon with AI? Just like you said, Jim, I mean, we're all using social media marketing to help sell listings, hopefully. And this is such a good way to have a very positive spin from AI as well. Does anyone else want to share one of their ways of implementing AI?
Yeah, I could jump in real quick. So as the question was being asked, I already had ChatGPT open, and I said, hey, summarize for me how I most often use you as a tool in my business. It's become a habit. Almost everything I'm doing, I'm running through ChatGPT. From drafting tough communications with clients to make sure I'm explaining things well, creating or at least tightening up my social media content and the wording that I used, creating events. I occasionally will do an event like a client appreciation event. And so it helps me create the invitation wording and the follow-up wording. Even for communications with leads, I will have it create a 6-step follow-up plan, assuming they never respond to me, of the next 6 communications and what that looks like. I use it every day for listing remarks on my listings. I use it when, for complex wording on contracts. Like I had a deal that it was subject to the solar panels being removed. Well, there are so many if-thens in that kind of situation that not only did I have it, think of all the possible scenarios of what could go wrong, I had it put in writing, if that does happen, then this would happen. And then, like Jim had said as well, some math equations either that are simple and I could do on my own, or they're beyond me and I need help figuring it out. I have ChatGPT help me with that as well. I'm very happily a paid subscriber, and it's worth every penny.
Wow. Well said. I think that, you pointing out how you just typed in that question, how am I most using you? I think that we're constantly surprised by, oh, that's a good idea. And it's just how to rewire your way of thinking to implement it daily. So like, I remember I was talking to my 90-year-old grandpa, and he was asking me a question. I was like, well, let's Google it. It's a habit to think about Googling it. And now we are implementing now a habit of how to reference things like ChatGPT to just improve our lives, to make things easier, better. I love that you're talking about how to properly explain things to your client. I mean, that's so proactive, and it's an easy, quick extra step to make sure that your client experience is a positive one. In all of this that we're talking about, though, especially when it comes to things like communications on any level, including social media marketing, I think that how good it works for you is going to go back to your prompts, but how you've trained that. I'm specifically thinking of ChatGPT, but how you've trained it on you and your business. It took me over a year to even begin using ChatGPT after it had been introduced to me, because I never invested that time up front to train it on me and my business. That took probably an hour and a half for me to finally sit down and do. And once I did, now I've got this prompt that I can copy into a new chat. It knows everything. And I use ChatGPT to help do that as well, where I use ChatGPT to help narrow down my vision and my mission and what my goals are, and what kind of market I'm in, and what I want to do here in this market, and how I want to build my business. Now that's just a copy and paste. So every time I ask for one of these, like to Jim's point, a story about my listing or who I'm trying to target, or like Aaron just said, the client communications, they know ChatGPT is trained. They're trained on how I talk, who I'm trying to talk to, and what my goals are. And it considers all of that in every one of these prompts. And that's when it just took off for me. And now everything that you guys are describing, and how I'm applying those as well, it's a much, much better product.
Hey, Crystal, I think that if you go in a little more detail, I'll tell you that when I started using ChatGPT, I told it everything about me. And then I went in and I said, I want you to ask me 20 questions about me and my business, so you can fully understand when I ask you to do something that you have a complete understanding. So it asked me 20 questions that I had to answer. So I think if you go into a little detail for anybody that's not really using it about how you kind of set that up.
You're exactly right. Yeah. I've at EXPCon the last couple of years, Phil Stringer has spoke there. Incredible speaker. He's given great PDFs. And that's always where he started as well. So I use the same thing. His prompt, that was, I want you to understand everything about me and my business. Ask me 25 questions. And then there was a regional rally that I went to in Vancouver where he did a working session. And that was actually where I finally got it done. And again, I was using ChatGPT to help me even answer those questions. So it was not hard. But yes, that time up front, and use ChatGPT to help learn about you. Charlie, Daniel, anything that you guys want to add on how you're implementing AI?
I can jump in real quick. I love ChatGPT as well. I think everyone is on ChatGPT. What's crazy is with AI, we're about 0.01% in, and ChatGPT has been out for the past 3 years. So I tell people it's not like anyone is ahead of the game. We're all still rookies at it because it's only been out for 3 years. So it's a great time to still learn and catch up to it. But I've dug into other stuff. Like there's something called Notebook LM. What a great tool it is. You can like literally drop notes in there and it'll turn it into a podcast for you. It'll turn it into a video for you, a training video. You can like literally go to an expo or a convention, have your notes, or have Otter AI take notes for you, right? And it summarizes those notes for you, puts it into Notebook LM. Then you can create a podcast. But the best part is you can also interact with the podcast and talk to the fake AI hosts who are doing the podcast. And it sounds so real, it sounds so legit. I've actually used it to attract agents as well. So I'll sometimes send agents a little podcast about them. It's like these two AI hosts talking about the agent saying, oh, have you heard of Charlie, blah, 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 great producer. And the other host is like, yeah, I think he's from Palmdale, Lancaster. So like they really interact like a real podcast. And what's cool is, I've used it to attract agents, to surprise people, and it does kind of like surprise people, which sparks an emotion. So it's a really cool thing. So Notebook LM, I would write that down if I were you guys. I use that a lot recently. I use AI for presentations. So I use lovable.com. That's a website AI generator. You can type in prompts and it'll create a website just based upon what you text it. Any website, it could be like a landing page, it could be a form, it could be a home evaluation landing page for your sellers, and then you create a QR code that links to that Lovable website. It's called lovable.com. I know it's a weird name, but it's a great website. And you basically create websites with prompts, and you can easily make like a nice seller evaluation landing page with a QR code and send postcards out. And that's a way to utilize AI now with mailers, for example, a traditional way of making business using AI now. So cool programs like that exist right now, which is crazy. One good one is Gamma AI. It makes presentations for you based upon prompts. You just give prompts to it and it'll make a full-on presentation. I use it for consultations. I use it for agent attraction, listings. So many cool stuff that's out there with AI right now. It's kind of hard to like really talk about it so deep because we're still on a surface, and they say we're only 0.01% in, and it could do this much. So imagine, right? When it's
Right.
1%.
Well, and I mean, you touched on so many good ones. Like it's almost pointing out how we may not even notice how frequently we're using AI, right? Like I mean, you pointed out Otter AI. I love that one. I'm so glad you referenced that one. I think people could be using Otter AI every day, just like ChatGPT. I use it for every single client meeting. If I go to a listing appointment, I ask them, and this was actually something I believe it was X Camp last year at EXP. It was one of the breakout sessions actually, and someone was talking about how he uses AI, and I went in there and he was talking about Otter. And you ask permission, you sit down to a listing appointment. Hey, do you mind if I record this so I can take notes? You just record your meeting, and then it uses AI, and it basically has built-in prompts, and it'll make meeting summaries, action items. And so I go out to my car, and as soon as I sit in my car, I will say, hey, thank you so much for making time for me. Here's a summary of our notes. And it's our summary, it's our action item. And it also, we can add, information on us. It is the easiest way, I think, to impress people that you're having meetings with. I have
and it can also join your meetings. You're completely right. Like it can also join like your Zooms, your Google Meets. So what's cool is you can have it take notes on your Google Meet, Zooms, and very good tool. I love that tool. Actually, I took advantage of it at the EXP Mastermind in Arizona, and I was in the Agent Attraction Mastermind, and I had my Otter AI and the other mastermind at the same time. So it's like I was in two different classes at once, right? And then what's cool is you can use that, copy and paste it, put it into Notebook LM, and then turn it into a podcast. Like that's 15, 20 minutes. And your notes will then turn into a really engaging podcast that you can listen to at the gym or even your notes for your clients. I mean, imagine sending them a podcast about what you guys talked about or something. Or, I mean, there's just so much. You could make a podcast for a listing and surprise a seller, right? Like, hey, I just made a podcast for your listing. Check it out, right? And it's like two people talking about the house, right? Yeah. What it has, the features, right? I mean, I just came up with that right now, but that's a really good idea where sellers will be like, oh my gosh, who are these? And once you guys hear the podcast that I'm talking about, it sounds like a legit two people talking podcast. It's not robotic. It's not, they even have ums and uhs and they laugh at each other. Like it's a real podcast that sounds so legit. So stuff like that you can utilize and really like stand out, right? I mean, imagine sending a seller a podcast about their house and these two people are talking about the solar and the roof and the flooring. I mean, it's amazing
or imagine
stuff.
Sending it to a buyer, if you are an open house or you are doing any sort of prospecting for the buyer and they get a podcast on a house, doesn't that immediately increase the allure of that property? I mean, and I can't wait to go check out this Notebook LM that you're referencing, because I have my business partner at EXP. We have, in our opinion, fire conversations every time we talk, and then we get behind the camera. We want to create some media together. It is never as impactful, I think, as when we just talk about business. And if we could just record one of our conversations and use Notebook LM to make the podcast from it, it sounds very incredible. So I'm looking forward to, thanks for suggesting that. I'm looking forward to exploring that further. Daniel, is there anything that you wanted to add to AI?
Full transparency, like, gosh, how many of these ICONversations have I done? I've done one every week. Yeah, I mean, I've done them for like every Friday for the last X number of weeks because I'm trying to do my 2024 ICON stuff and my 2025 ICON stuff. And so anyways, I don't think I could possibly add anything to it. I think the just what everyone's saying has been really gold. Like it's opened my eyes because all of these we've talked about AI at some point, and I mean, yeah, it's just some of the stuff being said here has been mind blowing. I just got the subscription version of ChatGPT, and so I'm, as much as the whole technology is in its infancy, I'm like, I might actually be behind. So, but it wouldn't take long to catch up.
Right, and as soon as you implement it, I think you'd be blown away then because you're already doing all of the different prospecting and follow-ups. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. All right. Well, then I think we've definitely capitalized on AI, and that'll continue to be, shared anywhere anyone goes to hear about real estate advice and action items. And so I just think that when it comes to AI, start with one thing, get comfortable with it, start implementing that, because if you just start learning, I mean, I would go to conferences and be overwhelmed by all the amazing ideas because you want to implement it all because it all sounds so easy, so attainable, and so impactful in your business. But, what do they say? Someone that does it all is not a master of anything. I'm horrible at phrases, so I don't know why we even went there, but a jack of all trades is a master of none, right? I think that if you can get really good at ChatGPT, that can just do wonders for your business. And, from there, we can start expanding to things like Otter AI, Lovable, Notebook, like he suggested, and implement even further. We have talked about, we are all in different local or all in very different markets. It sounds like, I know that we've already talked about Jim having a very historic market and that being part of his lead gen, but are there any different trends that you're noticing in your local market that you're not hearing discussed nationally, or even that you are? How are your local market trends impacting you? Let's see here. Who wants to start? Jim, you want to add to this?
Well, I tend to stay busy regardless of kind of the local trends in the markets, because we just, we say we're going to be busy. And I think if you just plan on being busy and you do the right things, you're going to be busy. And I think part of that is goal setting. And I think part of that is knowing your numbers. I have a spreadsheet that I developed, and I can tell you that for our small team, we had a goal for 26 million this year. Right now, today, we're at $23,725,900. We are at 91% of our goal, but the year is only 77% over as of today. So we're in week 40. We should be right at 20 million. So we're 3,725,000 to the good side of our goal. We have, I don't really have a transaction count that we want to get. I would like to have higher volume and higher average sell price. So we may fall behind and we say, okay, we want to do 110 transactions and we're at 81 right now. But we want to get that average sell price up. So I think knowing your numbers and knowing where you're at in the year, I also forecast out 4 weeks into the year. And in 4 weeks, we will be at the elapsed percent of the year will be at 85% of the year will be over 4 weeks from now. And that's why everybody talks about, hey, Q4, you start talking about your goals for Q1 and so forth. So I think having a visual, it's basically like a digital whiteboard that we've developed. We have all our pendings and it goes forward and so forth. But having that in your face so you know where you're at, for your goals for the year. And I think, if you're goal oriented, I think that you have to have something that reminds you constantly every day. It's like, oh man, I've what am I doing? Why am I not getting the business? And when you're in a business long enough, you understand that there are lulls and there are busy times. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I was talking to a gal the other day, and she was explaining to me her business. So she would get a bunch of listings, she would get a bunch of accepted offers, and then she'd get a bunch of closings, and then she'd have nothing to do. And she would get a bunch of listings, and it's like, because you're working that segment of that business, you got those listings. Now you've got to get accepted offers on them. You get accepted offers, you don't have time to go prospect because you're working the accepted offers, and then they all get to closing, and you're not filling up your pipeline on the front end anymore. And so the suggestion was, you need somebody in the background doing that work for you, so you can keep your pipeline full in the front end. So I think it's keeping that pipeline full and doing the items that, and this is what I tell everybody. If you want to make $416,000 a year, you got to be doing $200 an hour work for 40 hours a week. You can't be doing $15 an hour work and expect to make $400,000 a year. So it's delegate, and I've got a sign right here on my computer. Do I need to do it? Can I delegate it? Can I delete it? And as real estate agents, I think we're always trying to reach for that next shiny object, but find out what works for you and put blinders on and don't listen to any noise, or don't look at all the shiny objects. Every once in a while, my crew will say, stay in your lane, or squirrel, get back on task, but I think that staying on task, being goal oriented, and that's where I kind of, that's what kind of prods my business.
I love that you said that. I mean, I completely agree. And that was definitely when my business started becoming far more efficient as well. I put it's a glass board in my office, and I've got my open transactions on it, essentially my leads, what I'm working on, and then upcoming listings. But then I have a calendar and all my goals and my vision and mission right here. I look at it every time I'm on the phone. I'm essentially just looking around. It's in my face. And when people reach out to me with that shiny object, like someone invited me to jump in on their podcast or it was to go into a class about starting a podcast and this and that, I have my goals on the board here. I was able to look at what my goals are this quarter. And my response was simply, that doesn't align with my goals right now.
Right.
That, it's not personal, but I'm so familiar with what my goals are that it's easier to say no. It's easier to have that efficiency with my time and measure it. And just like we started this whole conversation with how we're approaching our schedule and routine, if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, you don't know what you're supposed to be saying no to, you're exactly right. You're not going to be efficient at anything, and you're going to be chasing shiny objects inefficiently. So very well said.
I have another little note right here that's priority dilution.
Priority.
That's those shiny objects. So stay on task. Don't let your priorities get diluted. You gotta have your priorities, work your priorities, and everything else. And I also schedule my fun. I have a coach, and one thing he knows that in the summertime I go boating, and it's non-negotiable. I pick a day of the week, and I'm gone. So you don't have to work 80 hours a week. You can schedule your life, and it will work.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, measuring, marking down, like you really started the answer with going into how what your numbers are, what the average prices are, what you're able to establish your goals because you have information on your numbers. You check your data, you track. That's very important. And when I went all in on my local market. I know you're in a small market. You said 13,000. My market, we have 5,000 in population. Very, very small. But I did go all in because I knew the local trend. I knew what was happening. I was highly involved with the city. I just went to all of their board meetings. I was on the Chamber of Commerce. And the city manager brought in this map of the developments. And he showed that in 8 years, if no new developers come to our town, just based on what's already approved through planning and zoning and purchased and moving forward, our population would be 35,000. And I go to every planning and zoning and every city council, and there's not a single one that doesn't have a new developer right now trying to buy land, getting their site plans approved, negotiating. So that 35,000 in 8 years is going to happen in 3 years, essentially, at this point. And I saw those numbers and I went all in there's no competition here as far as people doing any value adds or marketing. And so because I knew what was going on in my local market, I was able to make a huge decision based on that. And, now people call me because people that I don't know call me because I'm sharing all of that information about my market. Aaron, I'll move to you. In regards to your local market, what kind of trends are you seeing and what are you doing about them?
Yeah, so I'm in the Denver metro area, and the market has substantially slowed down. I kind of like what you and Jim were talking about earlier is, I could do TikTok dances and I can spend all the money on property boost campaigns. But I know that ultimately that's more to show the seller that I'm working hard and likely not actually providing the buyers who will actually, let's face it, they're going to come working with agents, getting properties through the MLS. So I'm using this time to tighten my systems, to catch up. I'm planning a client appreciation event that I do every year. And I like what was talked about just a minute ago. The way I would say it is being busy is not the same as being productive. It's so simple to say, oh, the market is slow, so I'm going to take all these classes. I'm going to work on my website. I'm going to redo my business card. That's actually not the activities that, in my opinion, are going to produce results and get you more closings. And so I'd say, focus on what you can control or what you can influence. And if you think about all the crap that's happening in the world and divisiveness, just remember you have so little control, let alone influence over that. That focus on what you can do to support yourself and your family.
So true. And I love that you're using your time right now in a slower season to get essentially projects for your business done that you wanted to. I would say that's kind of how I started my career. I didn't have people banging down my door when I got started. I had, one listing at a time, which no complaints. While I was getting my license, I was in my stories every day talking about real estate. So by the time I got licensed, I did have 2 listings, and one of them was a buy sell, and then another listing waiting for me to choose the brokerage essentially and to move forward. And that was just using my time wisely. I couldn't do business yet, so I was just getting people to relate me to real estate. My biggest fear was being one of those people that was, a teacher yesterday, and then all of a sudden posts on Facebook their business card and says, let me know if you want me to help you buy and sell. It just the cringe. I hated that. And I was like, I have to avoid that. So for that year, while I was home with my kids, trying to get my license, I was using a free tool, just popping on social media, my stories, even if it was just talking about how I'm making sure our foundation's watered, because I've learned about, the foundation issues that can happen in Texas. And now I'm watering my foundation because I learned that in my real estate course. Just rough example. It could be as little as that, or it could be talking about how, I'm learning about real estate and now I'm decided I'm going to do this to make sure I add that value. It could be more direct, but I was using that time wisely. And then as I started my career, I was, I'm going to, I actually lead like a presentation on this, but I go to every planning and zoning, city council, and CDC, EDC meeting. That's 3 meetings a month, completely free to attend. And I sit there and I take videos of developments or stores or really anything that anyone in the community or coming to the community would want to hear. And I sit there and I post it. I mean, there are 3-hour-long meetings usually, they're long, but I'm working the whole time. I'm posting those videos. I'm adding context in my stories. And then by the time that person's done talking, the next topic is done, and I can post about that. I probably have 7 or 8 posts in my stories at each one of these meetings. The engagement I get on those is second to none. I mean, I am in conversation for the next week with people about that, and they're blowing up my inbox, not the other way around, which is always my goal. And it just goes back to using my time wisely. And I know that in my local market, the hot topic here is the growth, because it's coming in a huge way, obviously. And so I just took that advantage and started sharing about that. So that's one of the ways that I attract. And also, it gives me the knowledge I need to be a true expert in my market. I could have a conversation with a door about the kind of growth that's coming into Van Alstyne and my market because I'm just so knowledgeable on it. And I just know all of the things and I get asked about it daily. Okay, so Daniel, do you want to add in what's going on in your local market and what you're doing?
Just, I'm not a social media superstar. So I have my VA post about all the sales, and that's the extent of my social media involvement. So, I mean, I think in our market, it's probably not too much different than anywhere else where you have, you have to do a lot more to get a property sold. So we really flood the market with awareness and spend a lot of time doing that. Cause I'm listing focused and it's just not as much of a guarantee that your listing's going to sell as it used to be. You have to put a lot into it. And so that's what we spend our time doing for luxury properties. When I list those, anything that would fall in that price point, I'm calling lenders now because our average sales price in our market's a little over $450. So if I have a listing for 800 or in that ballpark, the lender's going to know if they have buyers in that. So I'm calling them to see if they have buyers that are looking in that area at that price point because they're going to know about it. So we're just throwing everything we can. Yeah, it was a tip I got from a peer in New York. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's little things you pick up along the way can make a huge difference. And then when you present that to the seller that you're doing that, I mean, the odds are 99% of your competition is not doing things like that. So
yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. I'm in a similar market where our average is around 450 as well. And that's not typically the moving product right now. Right now in our local market, we're seeing a high preference on affordability. I mean, I'll list for some clients literally an investor special and I market it as such, lots of opportunity, big fixer upper, but I have end users looking at it, expecting to get financing right now. And so because I am listing heavy as well, I can kind of gather all of that data. I feel like as a listing agent, I get a much better pulse on what's moving and what's not and what buyer feedback is and their buyer sentiment even from being a listing agent that follows up. So that has been very helpful. And I love that tip. My husband's a lender actually. And I think that is brilliant. I mean, we always tell people to start with the lender. And so they would be the first one that knows of a real qualified buyer in that price point and location. Great advice. Yeah. Charlie, how is your local market in California? We got a lot of transplants coming from your area.
I know, right? Yeah. So when it comes out to LA, I mean, so my market is around 45 minutes to an hour from LA area. Which that means what's cool about it is we had the same price range as you guys, and LA is so expensive. So with our market, we tend to get people who are trying to leave the craziness in LA and come drive an hour and save, half the price, half the monthly mortgage, and get a way nicer house. That's where we are. But in California, like seasons do play a big part. So for example, like holiday season comes up, we do see listings sit longer, take their time. Buyers tend to not focus on buying unless it's really like necessary, of course. But that's just kind of how our market is. It's a seasonal market, I feel too, as well. In general, volume has been down, for everyone in the world for the past since like the last 40 years. The fact was, right? I mean, we haven't had this low of a volume. So, but we're all icon agents for a reason. So I'm guessing that it's mindset over market with us, and that's what's working out. So far so good there. But yeah, not much of a difference than to you guys. I mean, almost very similar, more days on market, a little slower activity. It's slower paced, I would say. It's not fast paced like COVID was, of course. And that's basically it. I mean, that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, it sounds like that's kind of the similar market kind of going on. I'm always surprised when I hear people are not experiencing a slower market. I mean, definitely a lot more work to get the listing sold, as several have mentioned here. And speaking of what we're having to do to get the listing sold, what are you guys implementing in your business for those wow factors? Daniel just gave a great example of, for his sellers, he's now implementing reaching out to lenders to procure buyers. And that's just a creative way. When I got, after my first year, it was 2021, fast and furious, the end of 2020. And so once I came up for air, after it kind of slowed down just a little bit, my first thing was to get systems in place and, making sure that everything that I do, whether it's going on a listing appointment, having a listing, running a transaction, marketing to my database, I want a checklist for every single workflow, everything that I'm doing. And what that allowed me to do is analyze where there's opportunities to add touch points, to add concierge level touch points to my workflows for specifically my clients as well as my leads. What is something that you're doing, Aaron, that an extra touch point that you love to share?
Well, I don't really have that much. I am doing a client appreciation event coming up here. It's my annual pie giveaway for Thanksgiving. Many of you may have heard of it. Many of you may have done it. Many of you may be rolling your eyes and saying, "Oh, that's old," or "Everybody does it," or "That's tacky." But I'll tell you what, it works. So what I do is I have a professional Santa, literally he walks in and he sounds and smells and looks like Christmas. And this is the weekend before Thanksgiving. So people are coming in and taking family photos. I have a professional photographer. And these are photos, they can avoid the Santa at the mall if they have kids and don't want to wait in line. I have one couple who I probably helped almost 10 years ago that come in with a theme every year. And they're a young couple, no kids, but they get dressed up, and that's on their holiday card that they even send me every year too. And then it's also, they can walk away with a pie. I let them tell me whether they want apple, pumpkin, or pecan. And I get these massive, insane pies from Costco. I use a printing company called, you okay, Charlie? So I use a printing company, I think it's called Gott's Print, to print these stickers. And so when they're bringing these massive pies to their Thanksgiving table, I get some recognition there. So it's evergreen. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. And plus, one thing to remember when you're doing events is it's not just about who shows up that you should tie your feelings of success to, but you've got all the communications beforehand and afterwards, that even just the invitations and the follow-up for that gets you those points and keeps you top of mind as the local real estate agent they can trust.
Exactly right. Jim, what about you?
Yeah, so I was just going to follow up on something you said a little bit ago. I believe the two main focus points in real estate are relationships and systems. I'm very systemized. You have to have, if A happens, B happens. We use Bold Trail. When we have a closing, we click a button. X, Y, and Z happens. It just happens. But one of the things that we've done for another touch point with my past clients is we did a Facebook VIP group. It's a closed group, and it only has by invitation only. When we have a closing, we invite that client to that VIP group. And about 4 to 6 times a year, we just do a giveaway. So we will, we're a event kind of city. We have Chautauqua the Arts, we have a barbecue festival, we have music, we have this weekend, I'm involved in the community. I'm in a riverfront development committee. We have a golf cart poker run. So it's pretty cool. But so I gave away, we're going to raffle off a golf cart tomorrow. And so I bought 7 tickets for the golf cart. Sent out a little message through text message, through Bold Trails, email, message on to the VIP group. Hey, send back this word, whatever the word is. For Valentine's Day, it's usually love or something like that. but they send back, they're entered into a drawing. We put them in a little wheel. We record that live, spin the wheel, and then, hey, the winner is XYZ. So we do that 4 to 5, 6 times a year, just give away stuff. Sometimes it's chairs, coolers, koozie cups, tickets, whatever it is. But that's just an extra touch point to keep all your past clients involved.
Yeah, I love that. A private group for them. Gosh, I would be sharing content publicly all the time, though, wanting everyone to see what I'm doing for my clients. Daniel, Charlie, I think we're getting close to the end here, but do you guys want to touch on that real quick as well? All right, maybe not.
I can let Daniel go, or
say it again.
What was the question?
What is a great touch point that you've added into your workflows for your clients that you want to share?
Postcards. Just started doing postcards. And I do like gifts, of course, like gifts at closing. We do own a furniture store, so we give them gifts and stuff like that from the furniture store. So we do stuff like that, basically. But mostly like touching, I would say, is postcards.
Okay. Daniel?
Yeah, I would say we just started implementing a closing anniversary gift program. So, I mean, results pending on what that leads to in terms of business.
Smart. Very cool. I added a local concierge is what I call her. And her whole job is each quarter, she definitely drops something by their house, just in general, whether it's, right now what she's working on is my kids' school had a fundraiser for these local discount cards. I don't know if you guys have seen those. It looks like a credit card, and there's a list of businesses that offer discounts that are local, hyper local, helps the school. And I bought 15 of those, and my concierge is going to handwrite notes on my custom branded note cards, and she's going to drop that off at their house or mail those to them. And then for Halloween, so we're doing 2 this quarter because of it. Halloween, all the kids get individual goodie bags, like Halloween buckets full of little candies and Halloween activities. So I make sure that she's at least doing some sort of pop by for all of my local clients and my leads at least once a quarter. And then we pop in a couple extra from time to time as well. And that was something I added this year. And I love it. I mean, people will text me and say, thank you, of course. But then also half of the people, it seems like, will take a picture, post it on their stories and thank me. And, in my Instagram handle, it says real estate. And I love that. So that has been very rewarding to implement for both just client appreciation and lead generation. Well, I think we're coming to the end here. I don't know if Brian has a specific time.
Nina had a question there, new agent. There's a book I read years ago that said contacts sprout contracts. I can't find it, but Nina, you got to be in front of people, whatever it is. Back then, it said if you had an electric bill, deliver it in person. You're going to run into somebody. Now I know everything's online, but you've got to go where the people are and you got to be seen. And so totally. Contacts sprout contracts. You got to be top of mind awareness. So just wherever you're in front of people, strike up conversations or whatever, you've got to be out there. Absolutely.
And to that point, a way to get out there is, get involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Volunteer, serve on a board. I mean, I moved into a market of people that grew up together. Everyone knew everyone here. I got my license and moved here the same year. And so I was an outsider in a huge way, but everyone's always looking for volunteers. So I became on a first name basis with every single city leader and employee and everyone involved here by showing up to the Chamber of Commerce. And I took on everything I could because I had the time to do it. And once I became on a first name basis with the city, I actually got offered a job by the city because of my social media, my listing videos. I became their what was I called? My title was I was the head of communications. So I actually created all of their social media and did all of their marketing. And one of the best things that came from that was I did all of the city leader interviews. So I literally just became friends with every single city leader, and it has opened so many doors for me. But yeah, just start. I mean, there's a list of events in your town that you could show up to. And I think that Halloween pop-bys for kids are always a huge hit, and, they get used, right? It's not something that they're just going to toss away. So get a Halloween bucket, pop your branding like sticker on it in some capacity, and put some treats in there and drop them off. I think that's a good way. And then if your town has a trunk or treat, that's a good way to get out there as well. Most places in some capacity, whether it's a church or the town or the chamber, they'll have a trunk or treat. And that's a great way to, wear a t-shirt with your brand on it or something like that, and just be seen and get out there and give back to the community. It's a great way to have conversations. That is a good question. I'm going to scroll through, make sure we haven't missed any other questions until Brian cuts me off, unless anyone else has something, interrupt me, guys. I'm just the moderator, so let me know if you have something to add. One of the things that I started doing in this market that really opened a door for me as far as people being open to my marketing was I started doing the high school football schedules. So those would get posted, but no one ever printed them, ever. Like, I never saw them in town. And then the Chamber of Commerce did one, but it was like a 2-foot by 4-foot giant ad covered football calendar. So I did basically an EDDM mailer size. I think that's like 6 inches by 10 inches. And all I did was I put the football the schedule on the front, and then on the very bottom, it's got my logo. There's no call to action, no QR code, no phone number, nothing, just my logo. And it says compliments of Crystal DeBacker. And then I just walked into the schools. I would knock on the door. They would say, how can I help you? And I'm like, hey, I'm here to drop off the football calendars. They would let me into the school. And at the front desk, I'm like, hey, I've got the high school football schedules. Where would you like them? I never asked if they were okay putting them out, or I never asked permission. I just said, where do you want these? And they would clear a spot on the front and center of their desk for this football schedule. And I did that at all the schools, the convenience stores, smoothie shops, post office. I just put them out everywhere. And it was a huge hit. I would show up and people would say, thank you. I mean, I'd get phone calls, people asking, where can I get one? It was a huge hit. And so I started doing all of the high school sports now. So every high school sport, I do one of those prints. And so like right now I've got football with volleyball on the back everywhere. And I didn't want that spot to be taken away. So now I have something in those spots on those tables all year round. In the summer, it's the summer concert series that the city does. It's been a huge hit. I mean, if you're putting out marketing and people are calling you asking for that marketing, it's successful. It's doing its job. The city hall has it on the front desk and gives it to all new residents as well. So I make sure that they're stocked, and it costs me about $500 now each time I order something like that, because I do so many. I do about 1,500 to 2,000 prints every time I order one. And that has been an amazing way to get my name in front of people. And I added, so after the first year, after it was a huge hit, I added my picture. So now my picture and my logo is at the bottom of every one. And I get pictures from like we have babysitters in the high school here. And I found out all the teachers were hanging up these schedules. So now that I walk into these schools, I give them a huge stack and I let them know, hey, this should be enough for you to put on all the teacher boxes and to put out, but I'll call next week. And if you need more, just let me know. And so most of the front desk agents, there's a decent amount of turnaround time. So they don't know what they're doing. So when I come in and tell them, hey, this is what you do with these, you put them all out in all the teacher boxes, and then here's some for your front desk. They're like, okay, sounds good. And I just show up again next year, and at least someone in that office recognizes me from the year before, and they say, yep, goes right here. And again, I just don't ask for permission. So that has helped a ton. I mean, cafes have them, boutiques have them there. You really can't go anywhere in this town and not see them. All right. Anyone else want to add to this?
Crystal, I got to run, but thanks. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. So any closing words I would share would be, number one, don't beat yourself up and don't waste too much time. Done is better than perfect. When you're creating content or putting together events, sometimes we can take forever and overdo it. And so I'd say get it done and move on. And then the other thing is, if you want to list more houses, talk to more sellers, talk to more homeowners, consistently, long-term, be in front of them. The goal is when somebody's ready to take action, and you want them to think of you when they think of real estate, and that comes through consistent, long-term follow-up and action. That's it for me.
That was a perfect finale. Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful talking with you. You guys are all successful, and I appreciate the time that you took to share with everybody.
Great job today, Crystal, and thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Thank you all for joining us for ICONversations. Thank you, Crystal. You've been amazing. Thank you to all of our panelists. If you are an icon in an active benefit year watching this in the audience, you get 2 points just for joining today. And if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button and subscribe. We'll see you next Friday.